Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, folks. How you doing? I hope that there wasn't any overlay because I was trying to do a little singing, and I muted it, so I hope my guest didn't hear that and she left. So, but anyway, of course, I'm Danny Tisdale, and we're live with you here on the Danny Tisdale Show. And today we welcome another leader, legend, and trailblazer as we celebrate Harlem, the greatest community in the world. I didn't say that. I'm getting it from someplace else, and it's true. Come to Harlem and you'll know why. Today we have Symone Gates, founder of Bade Collection. She'll tell me exactly how to pronunciate that. I didn't want to destroy it, so I didn't pronunciate it. While working as a full-time fitness trainer, where she suffered from chronic back and shin pain. I know a little bit about that. That affected her work and sleep. She enrolled into WeWork's Veterans Residence Program, which I knew nothing about. She was able to bring I'm going to say it, Bade Collection to life using advanced natural ingredients such as hemp-derived CBD. Today, the Harlem-based company remains woman-owned and proudly operates in conjunction with an 80% female integrative supply system. That means that 100% of their hemp and more than half of their herbs and butters are sourced from female-owned domestic farms. That's what I'm talking about. Symone finds that she and the women she works with know pain as well as how it affects women's bodies and are best suited to start conversations around more natural solutions. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and let alone that she's working in Harlem and her business is in Harlem, but it's talking about living your life better. And I want to thank Trailblazer Symone for being on the show. Welcome, Symone. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the attempt at the name, but it always trips people out. It's body. It's actually phonetically spelled.
I knew that.
I was just
I
trying
knew
to
that.
be
I just wanted to see if you were on your toes, but body. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me. The Bade Collection.
Yes.
Now, well, thank you for being on the show and getting me on track. And I want to get right into it, Symone, because I know it's going to fly by because I'm really looking forward to talking about the subject matter. And what inspired you to really get involved and do the work that you're doing with the Bade Collection in general?
Yeah. I do like to call myself an accidental entrepreneur. I moved to New York about 4 years ago, and I thought I was going to get into the product marketing industry. So while I was interviewing and trying to find the right fit, I fell back on my wellness and fitness experience, and I started working as a trainer. And I just got accustomed to setting my own schedule and not having a 9-to-5 at a desk. And I continued with it, but as I was going and increasing my clientele, I was suffering from a lot of pain to the point where I'd have trouble sleeping. And even going to a physical therapist once a month wasn't really helpful. And because I'm already in the industry, it would make sense for me to go out and look for products that were more mindful with their ingredients, making sure that whatever I did decide to use on my body wouldn't really affect me down the line due to any chemicals. And I tried everything.
Well, Symone, I wanted to ask you, Symone, I hate to cut you off, but did that chronic pain come from continually working out? Where did the pain come from?
Well, I think it was
playing sports or?
Yeah, so I've always been active. So I always have had issues with my knees and my back. But
that's why I asked. I thought so.
Becoming a full-time trainer just kind of irritated the problem a little bit more to the point where Yeah, to the point where, it was either me having to pop Tylenols throughout the day or like go into a stronger form of medicine, and that's not really something that's the best in certain situations.
Most definitely.
So I did try to go the natural route, couldn't find anything, and I just started tinkering around in my kitchen, and it kind of grew from there.
Really? So you start tinkering around with hemp-based products in your kitchen, and how did that happen? You start looking at other products that compared, and then you just finally fine-tuned what you were doing, and voila, it worked?
Well, and I'm very transparent with this. I didn't go to school. I wasn't trained up as a cosmetologist or a herbalist, so everything was self-taught in the very beginning. And when I was formulating things, I was looking at just solely plant-based herbs. And I visited my parents. They were fortunate enough to retire in Vegas. And on a trip, I had my first experience in a dispensary. So I wasn't able to bring the THC oil, which was recommended to me, actually. I wasn't able to bring it across state lines. So I instead, was given CBD, and I was told that with proper use, it can be just as effective as THC-based oil without the head high, if you will. So once I brought that back, I, again, started playing around with some new formulas. And once I started getting feedback from my other peers within the industry saying that, it helped them relieve their pain without having to take pain medication, I knew I was on to something. Right.
Yeah, that's pretty good results when, you can get good vibes from those who are using it to kind of inform what you're doing. And, this is a 30-minute show, and there's never enough time to really dig deeper in some of the questions. And your work in the kitchen, I guess you could say, I like to go in more. But I'm also interested, you came through WeWork's Veterans in Residence program. First of all, I knew the work that WeWork has been doing in and out of Harlem, but I didn't know that they had a Veterans in Residence program. Can you talk a little bit about that and, how you found out about it and took advantage of it, and now you're this incredible success by way of the program? Tell us a little about that, Symone.
Yeah, of course. So the company was actually founded about 3 years ago, and a year and a half ago, I was actually considering my options in terms of getting a commercial space or an office space, and I stumbled on this article regarding WeWork's program. It's Veterans in Residence in partnership with Bunker Labs. And coming from a military background, I was really interested in the program, and I was happy that they not only opened it to veterans, but also their family members. So I am a military family member. And I applied back in December, I believe, and I went through the process, and they were fortunate enough to select me. It's this year. I actually found out about the program about a year and a half before I applied.
Oh, okay.
So I'm fortunate enough to be part of their spring cohort session. And it's been amazing because, again, I'm a solo entrepreneur. So the fact that they've invited me into their community and I have access to people within my cohort that are in completely different fields, but they still have that experience that I can lean on. And I will like to say that CBD and hemp and marijuana, it is still on rocky ground. So the fact that WeWork and Bunker Labs has been open-minded enough for me to join in their program is truly instrumental.
That's a very good point, Symone, because not that I know that it's true or not true, but there might be some companies who would feel probably a little uncomfortable with that and say, well, not yet. Let's see how this plays out before we start messing around with those kind of products, quote unquote. So, Symone, where did you get the idea for the Bade Collection? You just woke up one morning or went to sleep and said, "Ooh, I'm going to start working in my kitchen to take care of my ailments."
I've always been someone to just do things. Like I've just always been a tinkerer. But in terms of making the step to start a business, I'm gonna be real honest. I was 24 at the time, and I was like, I don't have any kids. I'm not married. I don't have any other responsibilities.
Right.
I would rather try something and fail, and rather than look back and regret it. And I can't hopefully raise a daughter one day and tell her to pursue her dreams if I didn't do the same. So honestly, it was just more so like, what the hell? I don't have anything to lose type of decision. And after getting more involved in the industry, I realized how women are poorly represented, specifically in the CBD industry, because when CBD was the huge trend, it was up on the rise, and it's continually a huge trend. But when it became really well known on the market, it was female dominated. Majority of the companies you would see on the shelves and really running the game were owned by women, and each year that number has decreased. So I do feel like through the growing pains that I'm experiencing now, it's important for me to at least push forward and try as much as possible to make sure that, those looking at this industry as a woman see that it is possible. It's hard work, like anything else, but it definitely is possible to stay grounded in the industry as a woman.
So why do you think that's happening in the industry to women?
To be quite honest, I really do think it's funding. You mentioned it briefly in the beginning. I really try to source from female-owned farms. And just to find female-owned farms, working with hemp and CBD and THC, it's already a small number. And I think we have our access to funding is much harder, if you will.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to open up a farm and start my own dispensaries.
Right.
Believe it or not, it would make my supply chain a lot easier, but that's just not available to me. So I'm doing the best I can. And I've just noticed, with other women that I've met in the industry, funding is their biggest problem, because if you have a male counterpart who is getting outside angel investments, they're able to dominate with marketing and branding and access, if you will.
Yeah, and there is that is, of course, the reality, and it promises that there will be change, and it never seems to be soon enough, but it's a reality, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, let's say, 10 years from now. But I really want our listeners to know they're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show podcast. It's brought to you by Constant Contact. Constant Contact is an online marketing company that creates email marketing campaigns like a pro with easy-to-use features. Their editor makes it easy to customize an email template, design professional, responsive emails that look great for every device. Check out Constant Contact below and sign up. Thank you. Symone, we're right back here. And, I like the fact that hemp is sourced, that you're using hemp that's sourced from female-owned domestic farms. Can you tell us more about that, and are they reaching out to you? Are you reaching out to them? How's that connection happening and taking place?
Yeah. So I've been very fortunate enough to have people, I guess, connect me with these women. Right now I'm working with two, one in Vermont and one in Colorado. And initially, when I first launched, especially when I first launched with utilizing CBD in my formulas, I was ordering from a domestic farm. I thought they were domestic, but they were going through international international farms to get the CBD to me. And unfortunately, that's like a common thing because of the strict rules. So
it sounds like a long way around.
Oh, yeah. And for me, when you're doing things slow and steady and you're doing things on your own, you want to avoid getting into things that you don't quite understand, and just having that international, that international connection. I didn't understand it. So I was connected with these two women owned farms, and they keep things really low key. And what I mean by that, they're very selective with whom they work with. And I've been very fortunate enough to have a great relationship with them. But I have noticed that, when I'm going out and doing pop-ups or I'm at industry events, I'm being approached by men. So I think that also just, lends itself to the fact that these women, they have amazing and high quality products and oils and herbs, but they're small, so they can't offer it as someone who is male and has more acreage, if you will.
Right. I hear what you're saying, and that's a great segue. And I didn't prepare you for this, so I'm going to ask you. Either today or some other day down the road, there will be someone, whether it's a young lady or a young man, listening to the podcast, and they may have the same challenges or fewer challenges that you're having. What would you suggest to them, Symone, to do, based on what you've learned? And it sounds like you're moving fast, because it's been a year and a half since you got into the program, and then the program have gotten you, let alone with the, your insight and work ethic to where you are today. If you can look all the way back then and up to today, what tips would you give someone? It doesn't have to be young man or young woman, but anyone who wants to, kind of follow in your pumps and doing the work that you're doing and hit the roadblocks if you've had any or potholes. What suggestions would you give them, Symone?
My first step would be to recommend they know the industry front and back. Like constant research. I'm constantly reading up on the new studies coming out and the new ways of extraction.
Them. I see them all the time. There's
yes, and
tons of them.
And the second step would be to constantly reach out to people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's unfortunate, but within this industry, and this may change within a couple of years, but within this industry, people like to keep information to themselves, whether that be their supplier or new ways of extraction. It's a field where people feel like in order to get ahead, I need to keep the knowledge I have close to me. So you're going to be faced with a lot of people unwilling to have conversations with you or unwilling to partner with you. But there are.
I'm not going to talk to Symone. She's going to take my business over. I'm not going to talk to. I hear you.
Yeah, but there are definitely a lot of us who are willing to open our knowledge and share our knowledge, if you will, and reach out and help a fellow person within the industry, woman or male. Like I said, it's learning the industry before you even reach out, because you want to make sure that when you are reaching out, you have targeted questions. I think that might be the most helpful thing that I can recommend that's actually been extremely useful for me.
Right, and that makes sense. And I was curious, and I think you may have answered this question just in the last question I asked you. So there's no female-owned domestic farm portal that I can go to or someone can go to, like female-owned domesticfarm.com.
You know what, Danny? I think you just stumbled on your next business idea, because that's a pretty good idea. No, unfortunately, there isn't. Again, when people are trying to source these types of ingredients,
Wow.
they either need to go to a dispensary or they just need to build contacts. You can get lost in that Google search. I can promise you that. But as of now,
I can imagine.
nothing's really streamlined. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's, because in some ways when we started HarlemWorldMagazine.com, it was kind of the same thing, nothing happening or the local site. And, of course, now, 15, 16 years later, everybody's got a blog or website. They don't have our numbers. They don't have our relationships, but still, everybody can open up a website, and I'm sure that, or create a website, and I'm sure that the industry will, change in that way. And you know what? I'm going to ask you another question I hadn't planned to ask you. And what, because we've talked about the past to a degree. Where do you think the industry will be 10, 15 years from now? Crystal ball.
That's
crystal
interesting. Yeah, I think, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but New York just came down July 1st on CBD specifically, hemp-derived.
Oh, yeah.
So anytime I'm talking about THC or CBD, right now I'm talking about hemp-derived CBD because that's what's legal, if you will.
Gotcha.
Hemp-derived CBD is not allowed in packaged foods. Now, originally when they were discussing this in the spring, it was only going to affect restaurants and bars because, so many people were just dropping the stuff in drinks and not really knowing what they were doing.
Right.
So they went down
what
and
the
they
end
barred
result
it.
would be from it being in this drink.
Exactly.
Right.
And for me, and that's something that I'm currently trying to do, is there's a lack of education. Now, anyone can Google this stuff and they can get, articles on CBD and how it affects the endocannabinoid system. But I think examples like that, when you have New York, a state that we really thought was going to get to recreational marijuana very soon, to come down and bar it, this affected a lot of people that have been in the industry for years. Not just, these rogue restaurants and bars. So I think if we keep fighting for proper education and proper studies and really pushing that information out to the general public, I really do think that in 10, 15 years we'll be as established as the alcohol industry, if you will. But I think it actually depends on what we're doing within the next 2 years. I think if we don't do enough to educate people and if us as businesses don't take enough responsibility to make sure our extractions are clean and toxin free and all that good stuff, I think we can really ruin it for the future.
Yeah, and I think you made a very good point, but I definitely, I worked in, I probably should whisper this, but I worked on the community board and I love politics, and I can just see that the very things that you're talking about are going to happen because there is money and taxes to be made, and so with that, they'll find something to facilitate that. And I want to transition a little bit here because there's still much to talk about. But what is your favorite place in Harlem? Do you have this one favorite place that you? I think I know what you're going to say. Are you going to say the gym?
Wait. I'm sorry. What do you think? What do you think my favorite place would be?
The gym.
No. Okay. So I'm on the west side. I'm on 127th in St. Nicholas. So I love the Row House. Have you been there?
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
The reason why I like the Row House is I can take my mom there on a Sunday and have like Sunday brunch with the jazz. But then if I'm trying to go out with my friends, you can go downstairs and it's a completely different vibe on a Friday night. I love the Row House, but there's
I hear you, and that's a great kind of place to do that too. So, do you envision in the future that you'll be able to go downstairs of a place like that and be able to? This is if you smoked, and people would be able to smoke, because I know you probably don't, but because of course it's not legal, so of course you don't. Yeah. But I mean, do you think that someday that will be kind of, what happens is that you'll ask for a martini along with the joint?
You know what? I think so. I think as more countries are getting into this whole acceptance, I think the U.S. is going to start to get a little jealous, and I think the general public is going to push more for it. So I would love to be able to see that, within reason, if you will.
Oh no, I hear you. Because certainly we want to have something reasonable, and we're almost at that time. Symone, can you share with our listeners, how they can stay in contact with you? Go to your website and become a customer, to get on your email list, and in any way and anything that you can give them so they can, keep track of you, take advantage of your business.
Of course. So we do have a website. It's Bade Collection, so BADE collection.com. We're on Instagram at The Bade Collection. And excitingly, we've launched a couple of wholesale partners within the last couple of months. So you can find us in Brooklyn at The Narrative. You can find us in D.C. at The Nubian Human, and in Southampton at Therapy, Life, and Style.
Well, nice. In the Hamptons, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh, very nice.
That was a challenge, but we're glad to be out there.
So part of what I hear as far as the business is growing is to continue to do things like this that you're doing, which is to be able to wholesale the product at places that kind of fit the brand.
You know what? I'm taking it slow with the wholesale. My goal is to be able to move to a larger commercial space here in Harlem and, build out a program where I was in a lot of business programs as a teenager, so I would love to do something along the lines of teaching other people within the community, especially young people, the ins and outs, and getting them to create these plant-based products on the company's behalf. And the wholesale right now, with the small movements that we're making, is just funding that. I'm still deciding if that's going to be our ultimate goal.
Nice. And Symone, we've got a minute and a half left, and I just said to myself, wait a minute, Symone's parents, and I may be paraphrasing some of this, worked in the military, and here she is working with drugs. How are they responding? How are they responding to that?
You know what's crazy? They're very supportive. I love my parents. They were served in the Air Force for over 22 years.
Oh, Air Force. My brother was in the Air Force. Okay, Symone, I love you. Okay, all right.
So my dad was a little skeptical, but until I, prove to him that I can help his insomnia, he's all for it. He's my biggest supporter.
Right. That's great. That is fantastic. And Symone, thank you for being on the show. And, I'd like to invite you back next year so that we could, get an update on what's going on. And really, I think it'd be interesting to talk about what has changed and what has remained the same, and, the challenges ahead. But, I really, Symone, thank you for being on the show. And, good luck to whatever is coming next, whether it's wholesalers or growing online. Great stuff. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Danny. I truly appreciate the opportunity. It was great speaking with you.
Anytime. Take care, Symone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, folks, trailblazers in the world of Harlem, and Symone is one of them. follow in her footsteps, those pumps. Great business, and we'll see how it grows. And thank you for listening. Talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe below. Ciao.